Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining our diagnostic training session today. And what you're about to see is a pre-recorded training session we did over in the United States. But be assured that a lot of the material that we cover is really applicable to any automotive application. So just be aware that yes, it is a lot of North American vehicles, but they will apply a lot of the same principles apply over in the UK as well. Now, if you do have any questions, if you're watching this during the premiere, you can just leave it in the chat. We'll be monitoring live chat. If you're watching this after the premiere, then just feel free to leave a comment underneath the video and we'll get to those as we can as well. So my name is Jason Gabrenas. I'm one of Snap-on's diagnostic technical trainers. I've been in the training department since 2013, traveling around North America, helping techs and shop owners get the most out of their diagnostic equipment. Before I did that, it was a couple years as a diagnostic sales rep at Snap-on, so I had 30 different franchisees I worked with, as well as the shops that they serviced, in order to help everyone get the most out of their diagnostic needs. Then before I did that, it was 8 years at Subaru. So I worked in a dealership, and over time, I guess, just became the default diag guy in the shop. So I always ended up having the drivability problems, the intermittent problems, the weird wiring problems that would show up on those cars. And that's really where I cut my diagnostic teeth, was trying to figure out all those weird head scratcher type cars that would come into my bed. Then before that, a bunch of other miscellaneous wrenching jobs. Been a little over 25 years under hood experience for me. So our topic today is thermal imaging revisited. So we've gone through thermal imaging before in the past, but this time we are adding some more information, upping our game, so to speak. We got some more recordings, some more information available for you. And we're going to talk about how we can use this in our diagnostic day, in our helping our customers as well. So we always talk about having a good workflow when it comes to diagnosing vehicles, repairing vehicles, really anything we're doing in the shop. You want to have a good standardized workflow. You know, when we talk about diagnostics, talk about doing a pre-scan to check all the systems for codes, even the codes that don't set lights. And then we go through a diagnostic flow in order to determine the cause of what the problem actually is. Then we go to repair, actually fix the problem. And then, of course, if we do a repair, oftentimes now we need to do a recalibration or reset, something of that nature. So we'll do that. And then we do a post scan at the end to verify that the vehicle operates. Well, before we even get to this point, we do have some other steps that we need to take care of. And that's things like, well, the very first step, when the customer walks in the door or drives in the drive up, however it is, you have to intake the customer. You have to capture the customer's information and capture the customer's complaint. What's going on? Is it a noise? Is it a vibration? Is it a drivability problem? What sort of issue is this customer having? Then once you have the repair order, estimate, everything all set up, you'd want to take a road test to verify the complaint. Okay, so if it's a noise, is it in the front? Is it in the back? Where do I hear it? Can I duplicate the problem? Sometimes that's a challenge in and of itself, just duplicating the customer's issue. And then we go to inspect. And that's really where the thermal imager comes into play, is going to be inspection, inspecting the problem, uncover the cause, and maybe even uncover other unknown issues that may become a problem down the road as a preventative maintenance type task. As a Mr. and Mrs. Customer, this could be an issue coming here down the road. We want to make sure that we take care of that. So a thermal imager allows you to see what you can't necessarily see because it uses heat, or lack of heat for that matter. It works on a temperature differential. So it's what is the difference in temperature between the hottest and the coolest part on the screen. And we see right here, the coldest part on the screen, the black, 75.6 degrees. So it's not really cold. That's actually pretty warm for a room temperature. Over here, coldest thing on the screen is going to be about there, and that's 72.5 degrees. Still, by no means cold. It's only a couple degrees colder than it is over here. But we see the top of the screen, 83.6 here, which is going to be pretty much right next to that, and 175 degrees here, which is going to be in the center. So there's a big difference from here to here. So it's really not, it's not necessarily hot versus cold. It's what is the difference in temperature between the least amount of temperature on the screen versus the most amount of temperature on the screen. Because 83 is, that's like 11 degrees difference between these two, the high and the low here. So from the coldest purple to the hottest white, it is 11 degrees, but over here it's a 100-degree difference. Big difference in between those two, but it's still that's how it works. It's a temperature differential. Allows you to see the unseen, as we say. So this is a set of headers, set of pipes on a motorcycle, and it is double walled. It is insulated here, kind of in the middle, and you can see the arrow points to the same spot. Coming out of the header, right out of the exhaust, is going to be 770 degrees right at the engine, comes down, and then of course it cools off considerably at the end. In the middle here, it's in these purplish area, maybe a little bit in the orange. So I don't know, 100 degrees, 80 degrees, something like that. So it's considerably cooler than the 770 degrees coming out of the engine. And then it cools off, and then it warms up even a little bit back here, and then to cool off finally out the back. And on the right here, we have a motorcycle with the heated seat. Now it looks like on this day, it was 17 degrees was the coldest, so it must have been pretty darn cold out. And so we'd want to use the seat heaters in that instance. And we see the filament for the seat heater in there and how that would heat up, and that's what heats up the seat. It's basically a controlled short is what a seat heater is. It's going to warm up that seat, and it's going to increase the temperature of that filament. Kind of works like a little toaster for your seat. But anyways, allows you to see that, because if you were just to look at that seat, you would have no idea it was there. Maybe you can touch it and feel it, but being able to see it can help you figure out the problem, and it can also help your customer make a decision on what they need to do with their vehicle when you're diagnosing it. So probably the most common use that we talk about for thermal imaging is going to be for an electrical problem. So here's just a really good example of a high resistance battery terminal. On the right hand side, we have a battery. It's all pretty much the same temperature there, 70, 80 degrees, somewhere in that neck of the woods. And all looks good, no hot spots. This is actually the engine back there. On the left here, we have the bad one. So the battery itself is 60, 70 degrees, but this hot spot over here is probably 100 degrees, 80 degrees. It's a lot warmer than what we have going on over here. So why is it warmer? It's because we have resistance. It's probably got some corrosion on it, something like that. So heat is made by resistance. The more resistance we have, the more current flows, the more heat is generated in that component, whatever it happens to be. So in this case, it is a bad terminal, dirty terminal, more than likely, high resistance, and that would cause, cause a starting problem, charging problem, that sort of thing. So they fixed it, and there it is, nice and clean. High resistance connector, we saw this one a little bit earlier. So right here, we have no extra heat on this connector at all. Looks good. And then on the left-hand side, that's the bad one. That could be corroded, could be just not making quite the right contact, and it's just increasing the amount of current flow, which increases the amount of temperature, which gives us 175 degrees on this connector right here. Now, depending on how hot that could be, that could even melt the connector. Right? That could cause a problem and melt that connector. And here's another one. I think this one's pretty cool. It's on a wire. So we have to see the connector right here, and then we see a small, I don't know what gauge wire, but there's just a signal wire, power wire, what have you. High resistance in that particular wire. We can see it gets hot underneath the insulation. We can see how it's getting pretty warm there. 157 degrees down there at the bottom. Or actually 79 degrees right where we're targeting, but it's like 157 degrees way over there. Then over here, we got about 80 degrees. 70, 80 degrees. It's not that hot, because this temperature range, once again, from lowest to highest is 71.4 to 79.9. That's like 8.5 degrees from there to there. So see that's why you always got to pay attention to that temperature differential on the graph there. So that's only an 8-degree difference. It's not like this is like 30 degrees and this is like 100 degrees. It's 71.4 to 79.9. Not a huge difference in temperature. Also, with the Thermal Imager Elite, we can do a different opacity. So in this case, we have the opacity turned down. So it's kind of like an overlay of the thermal over the regular camera that's in it as well. So we can see just kind of how it lays out. And we've got a couple relays on right there. And then the picture-in-picture as well, to do the thermal in the middle with the regular video on the outside. So it just allows us to see it a little bit different view. Same type of thing though, between this one and this one. That's the same fuse box, the same relays. It's just a different view there. Here's a new one, a 4-wheel drive switch. So this one had an internal problem with the switch. We can see how it's hot in a couple spots there. And then over here, we can see it's quite a bit cooler, maybe under 100 degrees. It looks like it's pretty warm in this vehicle anyways. It's 95 degrees at the coldest right there. So this is probably a pretty warm day. 95 degrees right there, and then 112 degrees in these hotspots. That's not a huge range in temperature, but here, that's a whole 12 degrees hotter over there. So we can see the switch itself is on, or it's stuck on, or it's shorted, or something is going on internal that switch. So that's electrical, under hood, looking for an electrical problem on a vehicle. Tires and bearings. How about this one? Alignment. On the left-hand side, we have some sort of alignment issue causing excess friction on the outside part of the tire. Now, friction would cause, of course, heat. So we have a hotter outside of the tire than we have on the inside sidewall of the tire. So big difference, and this would be after you take a road test. As you're going down the road, you get the friction going, and you can see is it hotter or is it cooler, versus over here where it's pretty well the same temperature across the whole tread pattern. How about overinflation? In this case, it's hotter in the middle because the contact patch is expanded further in the middle because it's overinflated. Underinflated would be the same way, just opposite. So underinflated, you would have hotter temperatures on the outside than the inside because it's rubbing more on the outside of the tire than on the inside tire. So you can see it in both ways. And then this one's one of my favorites. Where's the leak in the tire? Since the tire is going to be room temperature or road temperature, I guess in this case, where is the leak? Well, it's going to be the colder, because air flowing through a leak in a tire is going to be cooler, so to say. So here's my cooler spot right there. I got yellows in the tire, and I got orangey to red right here. So that's going to be definitely cooler air coming out as it's flowing. So that's it. Stops you from having to use the soapy water, right? I always hated that, the soapy water, or having to pull the tire off the vehicle and put it in the the plastic bathtub there and look around for any bubbles. Now that's kind of a pain in the butt too. So definitely a lot easier to take the camera out, kind of look, shoot the tire, see where the pinhole leak is. How about using our thermal imager to show and sell repairs? Like we said, we want to use this for vehicle inspections and show the customer what's wrong with their vehicle. So customer comes in this case, noise in the rear. So how do we find the noise? Of course, we're going to take a road test. We got to duplicate the fact that we do have a noise in the rear. And if we do, we're going to raise the vehicle. We need to find out where that noise is. So all we got to do is take the thermal camera, thermal imager, and there's the rear differential. Here's where the pinion is, and the drive shaft comes in, and that is be the driver's side rear side bearing on the side of the differential. Same thing over here, just not as hot. This would be after the repair. So everything's kind of just an even temperature now after a road test. You can see the drive shaft comes in, there's the pinion there, and then there's where that bearing is. It's a lot hotter on the left than it is on the right. So that shows us that is increased friction over here. See, big difference in friction versus not as much friction when it's working properly. Here's another cool one, Misfire Diagnosis. This one makes it pretty well plain as day. It's an inline 4, or maybe it's a V8. Could be on the other side. Which cylinder is not firing? So that one's about 300 something degrees. That one's about 300 something degrees. That one's about 300 something degrees. That one's less. So that indicates to me that that one is not firing. It's going to have a little bit of influence in temperature from the other runners around it. But you can definitely see visually, plain as day, that that runner is cooler because that runner is not firing. After the repair, we can look over here. We can see, okay, all 4 are running about 350 or so degrees. That's in good shape. All 4 cylinders are running, or yeah, all 4 of these cylinders are. How about finding out why is it misfiring? So in this case, we got coil on plug vehicle. This is an inline 6. So this is a good one over here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coils. You can see them right there. So in the case of this, if it's working, it's going to generate heat because the coil will generate heat when it's working. Over here, we got 1, 2, 3. That one's not working at all. We can see the bolt's a little bit warmer because it's in contact with the block, but the coil is plastic. And the coil is not working. The coil is not heating up because it's not generating any voltage. So we can see a big difference between working and not working just with that thermal camera. How about HVAC? That's a pretty common one as well. How about a blend door actuator? We might have a problem. So this side's full heat. This side's not heating up at all. So maybe we have a blend door problem. Maybe we have some sort of an actuator problem in there. And then over here would be if it's working properly. I actually took this video a couple weeks ago, and this was it's sped up, but it's on a vehicle with dual zone climate control. So we can see I went to full heat on the left, full cool on the right, and then we go the other way. We got full cool over here, full heat over here. And we can see it was like 80, 90 degrees in the full heat. And then over here it gets down to the low 40s to 30s even. When it gets in the black there, it can get pretty cool. So we can see the difference in temperature between the heat and the cool as it goes back and forth. So here they are both. Now we're heating this side up. That side heats up. Then we flip the switch, go back the other way. That side cools off. That side heats up. So as we can see how the blend doors are moving, because it's not all at once either. It's going to happen, then it kind of transitions between the two sides. So you can see how it takes a little while to transition and move over to full cool, to full hot, etc. So that's kind of neat. Thought that was kind of a cool little capture. How about cold weather items? I live in a cold climate, and I tell you, I love my heated seats in the winter. But when we have problems with heated seats, we don't like it so much. There's an example of a bad heated seat over here. We can see that the passenger side's working. We can see all the filaments there. But on the driver's side, yeah, maybe somebody was sitting in the seat prior, but we don't see any of those filaments. So that indicates to me that that heater is not working. Over here on the right, after the fix, we can see there's my filaments in there. And usually it's just a little pad that goes underneath the seat. We could do this the same way with cooled seats as well. So make sure the cooled seat is working. You can also look at the fan on the cooled seats to see whether or not that was turning on as well. So that makes it kind of easy, because when I worked in the shop, it was we'd had a few of these that fail, and it'd be either the top, the back, or the bottom, or the whole thing. But we couldn't always tell, and they were two separate pieces in some cases. So do I need the bottom? Do I need the top? Do I need to tear the whole seat apart to find out? So you can go in and look and see, okay, well, the bottom's working, the top's not working. That sort of thing. Heated steering wheel too. First time I rented a car with a heated steering wheel, boy, that was really nice. Coming to a cold steering wheel on a freezing cold day is not fun, but having a nice warm steering wheel, well, that's perfect. Keep those hands nice and toasty. So on the left-hand side, we see it's not working. Right-hand side, we can see plain as day. We got a high temperature ring on the outside. I'm guessing that's where the seam is on the leather there. We got high temperature all the way around. Looks like that is working properly. And then rear defroster grid. I know we probably talked about this quite a bit when we first came out with these thermal imagers. Is how do I find out if I have a bad section of the grid other than the ice not melting? But is it just a small section? Is it a large section? Is it any of it at all? So we can see here's the good one over there. And then obviously we have a line missing right there. One bad piece of the grid. How about the cooling system? That's you would think that would be fairly a fairly common thought, but not always. Heater valve. On the left-hand side, we have one that's not working. We can see the coolant going through this heater valve here, but it's not coming out this pipe there. On the right-hand side, same deal, but it's working now. We have it going out the pipe. We can see the temperature is the same going through and then coming around as well. So that's your difference there. Radiator. This one's working. That one's clogged because the heat's not making it through. It's about halfway through. It's not making it any further. We see it's got a top tank and a bottom tank too. So it's just not flowing through this side of the radiator at all. It's just it's way too cold. We got no coolant flowing through there. So we can see that. Thermostat. This one was interesting too. So there's my thermostat housing on the left there. Here's with the thermostat closed. We can see that the hose is kind of cool, 60, 70 to 80 degrees maybe. And then we see where it opens up here. And then the coolant comes down through there as well. So hot there. Even warmer there. There's another time lapse we did a couple weeks ago. The target is centered on the lower radiator hose on this view. That's sped up, of course. We can see how it goes and heats up considerably, and then the radiator heats up there as well. We'll let it cycle back again, cool off. So we see there's the cool hose. Thermostat opens up, hose heats up, flows into the radiator heats up. We can see how it flows. It kind of flows to the bottom and the top, flows through, heats up everything around it as well. So you can see how the radiator flows, the radiator heats up, and that the lower hose heats up as well. So there's a big difference in there to the end, right?
So I thought that was kind of neat. We captured that over, probably 10, 15 minutes on a car, just kind of watching it heat up as it goes. So I thought that was kind of neat. And that's what you would see if you were staring at the screen for that long. You'd be able to see the thermostat open and see what was going on there. You'd also be able to diagnose if the thermostat didn't open with that. How about some other stuff? How about finding a window leak? I got a leaky window. It's either got water coming in or wind noise coming in or whatever it happens to be. So what we do is we crank the heater on high, we crank the blower on full speed, close the windows, and see where the heat comes out, if at all. So on the left-hand side, we can see where it's leaking out. We got some heat leaking out. It's much warmer than the surrounding glass. On the right-hand side, it is not leaking out. The glass is all fairly similar in temperature. So we can see it's not leaking out there. It's leaking out here because we got the hot spot up on the top there. Or how about ADAS, radar sensors, or ultrasonic sensors even in the bumper? Which one's bad? Do I know which one's bad? If I got 5 ultrasonic sensors across the bumper, which one's the bad one? It's going to be the one that's not generating heat, because when it's operating, it's going to generate heat in this case, just like the radar sensor. The radar sensor is generating radio waves. So that means it's going to be operating and it's going to be warmer than its surroundings. So in this case, we can actually see the radar sensor through the bumper. We can see the heat signature right there. So I thought that was kind of cool. So let's take this thermal imaging and put it to work for you. Now, I know a lot of shop owners watch these, and I know a lot of techs watch these as well. So think about how we could use this in our diagnostic day or in our shop for preventative maintenance, or use it as for part of the digital vehicle inspection, perhaps. When the vehicle comes in, we're going to road test each vehicle as we should anyways, and then we'll put the vehicle up in the air on the lift. Start a 4-corner inspection. You want to start with tires, brakes, and bearings because those are probably going to cool off faster than some other things. We're going to look at the cat. We're going to look at the exhaust system temperatures. Take an image of the battery, see if we have any sort of corrosion there causing high draw. We'll look at all the pulleys and the belt tensioners as well. We can see other bearings on this list, cylinders for misfires. And we can also see the HVAC system operating as well, like we did on that time lapse we just saw. And then we can take and we can attach some of the pictures if we want to. If we have a digital vehicle inspection like we have with our shop key manager system, which I'm going to show you in a minute, you could take pictures with their tablet or other capable device, and it attaches it to the vehicle inspection report as well, the multipoint inspection. So the Diagnostic Thermal Imager Elite, which is our flagship thermal imaging tool, will upload to the Snapon Cloud for free as well. So that's how we can take and share some of these pictures, and I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. Now we do also have an increased range, -4 degrees Fahrenheit to 840 degrees Fahrenheit. So that should cover most of what you need for our battery life, 4-inch screen, and it also has video recording. It'll record 10-second videos. As I said, free Wi-Fi uploads to Snapon Cloud. 6 levels of opacity, so I can change it from full-on thermal to full-on camera, picture-in-picture, and side-by-side view as well. As we said, it will automatically upload to the Snapon Cloud, which is free. So if you have an account, it doesn't cost you a thing. You just have to sign up and it automatically uploads. So let's take a look at what that would look like, actually. So let's see. Got my account right here. A few pictures I took today, a couple interesting ones. Here's one on my air conditioner. So a vehicle was running and we had the AC system on. The target is on the high side filler valve, and we can see the low side is considerably cooler. High side it's coolish, but it's not nearly as cool as the low side. You can see a pretty stark contrast between the two. Now, another thing about the pictures that get uploaded here, if I go to the left, I get my full camera view. So there's my high side there, as you can see, and then there's my low side there. Go to kind of a middle, and then we go to one with it's kind of clean, no information there. If I had changed the opacity, it'll change the opacity as well. It's a couple examples of that we'll be able to see. This one's on battery, so this one does have different opacity on there, so I had a lower opacity in the middle. I was trying to see if I did have high resistance in either of my cables because, well, they don't look all that great. A little bit of corrosion there, time for a cleaning, I think. But I figured it'd be an opportune time to take a look and see if we had any issues there with high resistance. And in this case, doesn't look like we really do. The engine been running for a while. so the battery was a little warmer. It was kind of a warm day out today. So there's my partial opacity, and then if I go all the way to the right, that's my full thermal image as well. Come down here, what's this one? This one is, let's see. Oh, fuse box. So we got a fuse there, a couple relays, and we can see those relays are functioning, and as they're getting warmer there. So there's my no information, middle, and of course my full picture there as well. This one's the AC again, but it's focused on the low side, so 63 degrees on the low side versus 127 degrees right on that cap right there. So a little bit of a difference between the two. Here's one on the cap. So this is kind of centered a little bit on, there's a heat shield right there. So we go to the left, we can see there's a little heat shield on the front of the cap. Keep that boot from getting burnt. And then the cat itself is right there. That's just some sunlight from the outside. You can see it gets fairly warm, 198 degrees there, kind of in the on the right after the shield. But the shield itself, probably 80, 90 degrees ambient temperature, wasn't too bad. And let's see, so that was that one. This one's a lower radiator hose. So we got the target on the lower radiator hose. It was running the thermostat wasn't open yet. So we got 134 degrees right there. If I go to the left, you can barely see it right there. And if I go to the right, it removes all the stuff. Now, I think that's interesting too. So visually, you open that up. On that picture, it's pretty hard to see that hose in there. It's kind of in the shadows, right? It's kind of hard to see where that hose is. But if I look over here, I can see quite detailed. There's the hose. Underneath it's the heat shield. I mean, not the heat shield, the splash shield on the vehicle. You can't even see because of the shadows. So you can see all of this detail using that thermal imager. HVAC system, wanted to make sure my AC was blowing nice and cold, 41 degrees right there, right in the middle. Now this is good for your customers. Right, so if I send this picture to a customer, they might not be able to kind of understand where this is on their vehicle. They might think, oh, well, I guess it's blue, so maybe that means it's cold or something like that. Cool. 39 degrees at the coldest, 41 degrees at the target. But if I send them a picture like that, I can say, oh, well, that's okay. I can see that. And the customer, when you send it to them, they can cycle through these 3 different views as well. And then the last one's going to be a side-by-side of that same thing. So that's another advantage you could use. Have the visual picture on the left and then the match with the thermal signature on the right-hand side and see how they line up, see how they work together. So that would be another handy thing to use for a customer. You can see it's 39 degrees right smack dab in the middle of the vent right there. AC was blowing nice and cool today. No complaints about the AC. So as I said, if you have shop management, you can also do mobile digital vehicle inspection. So here's the one for my car. I just checked a couple things off today. I didn't go through a whole thing. But we can see if there's any issues, we can add a picture. So here's a picture that I took off the thermal imager of the hose right there, coolant hose. And then we also have the AC hose right there. You can see the picture. So I just use because it's with your phone or your tablet you can use. So I just use it to snap a picture of the screen and we can see right on the screen. Now, if I were to print this out and give this to a customer, it's going to open in another window. But if I were to open this up for a customer, you can see you get your green, yellow, and red. I didn't check most of the things off just because I was doing this real quick today. But if you do have any attached images, you can come down here and it'll show you, okay, coolant, there we go. Hoses, there we go. Hoses, also, there we go. So we can see the different pictures and how they're attached to it. And then it gives me a top 10 component failures based on mileage as well, which draws from our SureTrack information. So that's kind of cool. You're able to access those right from the management system. It actually syncs if I take a picture of the screen with my camera. You can take a regular picture too. You know, I got a dirty air filter, snap a picture with the tablet or phone that you're using in order to do that. So that's pretty handy as well, being able to help you help your customers. Actually, let me show you what that looks like on the shop side too. So if you have manager or you have shop key, you get a shop account with Snapon Cloud as well. And that's the, like, see, here's the pictures that I snapped today. Right there. So I can click on that, open it up. There's my picture now sideways because of the way I snapped it. But we can see the picture there. Also, down here, we can say it's a known good, known bad. We can put tags in there. And also I can share this. So if I click on a link, I can share it with SMS. If it was on my phone, I could share it as a text message. I can send via email, or I can copy it to the clipboard as well. So lots of options to do that. Lots of options to attach it. And just use that thermal imager to help you sell work, help you confirm fixes, help you diagnose problems that you can't see.
And with that, that is our time here today. So make sure you tune in for new diagnostic content every week. We will be premiering a new video every Wednesday at 7 p.m. UK time. So make sure you check it out on the YouTube channel. If you're watching, well, of course, you would be watching this on YouTube, but make sure you subscribe, thumbs up, ring the little notification bell so you know anytime we post new content. And it's youtube.com/Snapon Diagnostics UK. With that, time for questions. If you have any questions, just feel free. Once again, if you're watching this on a premiere, just leave it in the live chat and we'll answer those. Otherwise, leave a comment under the video and we will get to those as we monitor those comments as well. So I'd like to thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day to learning a little bit more about how you might be able to be more efficient at diagnosing vehicles using some of the information that we've given you today. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Hopefully you can watch and see you on any of our other videos. Have a good week, have a good night, and take care.